everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Easton Park Talk. I'm here with Dayne Cannon.
Hello, how's it going? Happy Friday.
Woo, it is Friday.
Thank goodness.
It's been a long week.
It has been a hellacious week.
Yes, something's in the water or something
Yes.
this week, but it's been wild. But Dayne joins us as a community leader with Frost Bank.
Yes.
That is now here in Easton Park.
Woo woo. I'm so excited. Yes, it's coming up pretty quickly.
When's the opening date again?
November 12th. It's a Tuesday, day after Veterans Day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell you worked for two of the big three? Like, why don't you give us your background in banking and all the cool things that you do?
So after I got out of the military, I was in the Navy. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I had to pay bills, and I lived in California.
Okay.
So I went into retail, did that, and I had a family member at the time say, hey, you would do amazing in banking. And I was just thinking, oh, sure, okay. But she got me an interview at Bank of America on their outbound sales team,
Okay.
but with business owners. And so I did that for a little under a year, and they're like, no, we got to get you out in the field. You're a people person. You're not doing well in this cubicle.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. I mean, I was doing well, but I could do better in front of people. So I did that, and I would say about a year and a half after that, I was trying to figure out how to get out of California, be a little closer to family, but not necessarily in Indiana, because if any of you guys have been there, it's not the most happy place to be in the world. Midwest, whatever. But Texas is, where I landed, and I transferred that job.
Okay.
Again, still working with small business owners, and they didn't have an assigned location for me, and I was kind of floating. And I was freaking out, and I was like, well, I'm used to having a territory. I'm used to having a book of clients to call on. And for whatever reason, they weren't prepared for me upon my arrival. And I reached out to one of my former regional managers and said, hey, this is what's happening. Do you know anybody in Texas? He said, actually, I'm with Chase now.
Okay.
And I go, okay, well, that's not helpful. And he goes, send me your resume. And I had an interview on Christmas Eve of 2017, which is when I moved here. And I got the job at Chase, and it was an opportunity for me because I actually moved up 2 levels from where I was at. I was assigned a territory, which is Southeast Austin, which has my heart. I love it. It's the only place I've lived since I've been in Texas. And so got assigned there and was under a really amazing manager.
Mm-hmm.
He taught me a lot. And then I started feeling some challenges, not with him, not with my team, but more so with the bank. Texas is its own very, very unique place. It's its own unique economy. Yep. Texas business owners, residents, consumers, they all have very specific needs. And, there's a lot of businesses that throw a lot of money into Texas, but are they able to help? Are they able to advise? Right. Are there people there actually helping out? And so that became a challenge for me. And, just having a sweet spot for business owners was like, I've developed this relationship with this person. I want to help them. X, Y, and Z is matching up. Mm-hmm. Why can't we make an exception so that we can help this business?
Right.
And they're, hey, we have rules and regulations because we're a big bank and we're not able to make these small exceptions. And so it just kind of disheartened me a little bit. Yeah. And it made my job a lot harder. And I love my job. I love being able to help people. I love being able to meet people, talk to people, all things people, right?
Yeah.
And so I had a call from Frost and they had been calling for a while, and reluctantly I just didn't, I was like, okay, I have a job with JP Morgan.
Right.
And so I didn't. And, I decided to take the call, and I'm glad I did. Yeah. Very, very glad I did. And, I went in there a little, maybe overly confident.
Okay.
It's not anything that I haven't told my boss. It was like, hey, I have a job. Like, I've been here 7-8 years, right. I'm good.
Yeah.
But I'll talk to you. And I was wowed with what was told to me, what they explained the culture was to me. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge thing for me. The culture within the bank, and then how that is expressed outside to our clients.
Yeah.
And, I felt like I was promised the world, and I said, okay, I'll go ahead and take this leap of faith. And I did. And I kind of got here and I was like, well, I'm just kind of waiting to see when it's going to be a little different, right?
Like for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly. And I'm coming up on a year in about 30 days. And the shoe has not dropped.
Okay.
Literally from my first day, the first hour I was in there.
Awesome.
I have felt exactly what was explained to me culture-wise. There's not anybody within the bank that I can't call right now and say, hey, I have a problem. I don't know how to fix it. I know it's Friday. I know it's almost time to go home for a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
And they'll sit on the phone with me for 3 hours and do whatever it is that I need help with, or whatever it is that the client needs help with as well.
Yeah.
And so it's been amazing. And they in the banking industry say, oh, you bleed a certain color, bleed blue for Frost right now. And it's like, or you drank the Kool-Aid.
Sure.
I did, but that's fine. It's okay with drinking the Kool-Aid when, it's flavored like it was promised to be flavored.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, we own an HR company, and we work with several clients all over the state of Texas, and with employees all over the United States, as well as in other countries. And, the one thing that, as someone who has a passion for people also, and helping people and making sure that the sliver of their day that is work, which is a large sliver, is enjoyable and fun. Like, it's very rare that you get sold by a recruiter or a hiring team or the onboarding team, and that like continues and is true.
Yeah.
All like through and through.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome. I want to go back just 1 second, because it was I thought it was funny that JP Morgan Chase interviewed you on Christmas Eve. That feels like such a JP Morgan Chase thing.
You know what, though? I think it was kind of sweet.
Okay.
My former manager, he's amazing. I still have a relationship with him.
Okay.
And he was like, we got this call and said that we have to interview this guy. I was about to leave for the holiday until after New Year's. And so they called me the day before and said, hey, can you come to 24 Diner on Christmas Eve? And I was like, yes, I'll be there.
On over off of, is that on 5th and?
No, it was on South Lamar, right next to Waterloo.
Yeah.
Waterloo Records. Yeah.
By the Whole Foods is right there, right?
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Very cool. No, that's great. That just felt like such a banking thing. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Got this board meeting interview on, Christmas Eve. Like, I'll be home for dinner after.
I think I joked with him after, was like, Scrooge McDuck over here.
That's funny. So let's get into the business part, because that's where your passion is. We're business owners. We started our business by banking with Frost.
Okay.
And we love Frost because we trust Frost, and Jaime set up our account and the whole nine. And we ended up, because just ease of accounting, and this may have been changed now, but like we moved to Capital One because it connected to QuickBooks, and so we didn't have to like constantly like upload feeds or whatever. And we're interested in bringing our business from our business back to Frost. Like, what does that process look like?
So, I mean, it's super simple.
Okay. Yeah, tell me.
I mean, so I think you mentioned that, one of the issues that you guys had, or one of the challenges, we won't call it an issue, we'll call it a challenge that you guys had, was that it didn't, your online banking didn't connect to QuickBooks.
Right.
I think that we do a really good job of taking the challenges that everyone has, whether it's the banker, whether it's the customer, and implementing them. We're a little bit slower at implementing them, just because, we're not a Bank of America, a Wells Fargo. And so it takes us just a little bit longer to do it, but we're very intentional about the things we do and how we make those adjustments. Because what we don't want to do is offer it, and then there be some major hiccup that just causes you a lot more heartache down the line, right?
Yeah.
And so we do have that connectivity now. So we are able to do that. But I mean, it's relatively simple. Again, very people centric. So, say, hey, I'm a business owner. I want to open an account. Great. So you come see me, or you come see one of my personal bankers. I personally like to see every business owner that comes in. So here in Easton Park, me,
awesome.
You guys will come and see Dayne. Ask for Dayne when you come in.
Cool.
But you come in and talk to me, and we'll just have a conversation, very much like we're having right now. Like, tell me about you. let's, talk, and then tell me about your business. Tell me about some challenges that you've had presently with your current banking relationship.
Yeah.
Things you love about your current banking relationship that you want to make sure are still accessible or still will hold the same value here.
Do you want to go through the exercise? You want to let's pretend? Are you cool with that?
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Wasn't ready for that, but yeah, let's go.
I mean, let's do it. So, because we really are very much in we love Frost, and it really did. I remember when we went and told Jaime, he was like, Nicole, what are you doing? And it really, for us, it came down to QuickBooks. We found a new CPA and the people that do our books, and thank God for them. But they were like, we need to streamline this, and we need it, and they didn't. So we were like, all right, let's go with Capital One, and we did, and it's been fine. But I love Frost because even though it's not a small bank, but it's not JP Morgan. It's not Capital One. It's like, we're a small business. I want to work with someone I know, someone who I can. Business is hard. Payroll to keep, we have to keep up with payroll. We have to pay our bills. We've got to make sure there's money in the bank, all of these things. And so something right now that we're deep in the throes of researching is because we have employees that count on us to pay their payroll every 2 weeks, which is, and for ourselves too, looking into lines of credit. And having these very real conversations of hey, a couple months ago, cash flow was delayed or was slow, or we had a slow month or whatever. What options are out there for us? Is that a conversation that you and I could have?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I handle everything from the implementation of something as small as opening a checking account. But I tell people, account is an account. You're going to get an account no matter which bank you go to.
Right.
The major difference is you're getting someone who really wants to know about your business, who understands it, so that when those things do come up, we have already established a relationship.
Yeah.
And so I can say, hey, we can make this exception to pay something out, or hey, we need to put a line of credit in place to help bridge gaps. Or, I mean, the opportunities are endless.
Yeah.
You said something, where you said we're not small, and I always say small, and maybe I should deprogram myself from saying it, but our regional always says we're big enough to be relevant, but we're small enough to be nimble.
I love that.
And it's so true. I mean, we're the fourth largest bank in Texas under the big three.
Yeah.
And so that's not small by any means.
But it feels small.
It feels small, right?
Every bank you go into is it feels like they, Frost does a really good job of I mean, if I walked in, Jaime would be like, hey, what's up, Nicole? Which is, and Steve had a situation for a while where he was making spiff money. When we now both work full time in our business, but Steve would take these gift cards to Jaime and be like, hey, and for a while, Jaime eventually was like, hey, what are you doing? Because he was like, hey, can you transfer this much cash into our account or whatever? And after a while, and you can only do so much a day, or however, whatever the rules were. And Jaime was like, what's happening? What are you doing? Because this seems funny. And once Steve told him, he's like, oh, cool, great. But you get to know people, and I've never walked into a Capital One, which there aren't very many, by the way, anymore.
3.
Yeah, and you walk in and there's no you don't go talk to a person. They have someone walking around making sure that you can get to the gigantic ATM banking situation.
I just feel like those are baristas.
Yeah, no, I think that they might even call them that. Truly.
I think they do.
Because it's you can go get they have they call them, it's something like I don't even know, but it's
bankerista.
Yeah,
something saucy like that.
I love it. But you can they have, it's like a co-working space almost, where you can go plug your laptop in and work, but I'm not trying to hang out at the bank either.
Yet.
Yeah. Well, your bank is going to be totally different, but there's just they're not sitting down with people. They're not there's no interest in forming long-standing relationships with their clients, whether it be personal or business. It's it felt very transactional. And as we're a service provider, we provide human resource services, and I think we do a pretty good job at it. But what's important to us is making connections with our clients. And as we go and have these decisions that we're making to work with others, I want to feel a personal connection. I want to feel important when I walk in the door. Everybody does, and Frost does just an incredible job of that.
Well, I always tell people, I'm like, hey, do you have a favorite place that you like to go, whether it's a restaurant, coffee space, or, a bar? When you walk in, don't you want someone to say, hey, by your name?
Yeah.
And like, regular? And I was like, well, yeah, of course. And I'm like, that's the kind of feel you'll get for your banking relationship. And it feels a little dumbed down, but I mean, that's the reality of what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time that I've interacted with anyone at Frost, I felt heard. I felt like I was the only person they were talking to. And that feels good. Like, that's how you want to feel. And again, like calling Frost, the 1-800 number for Frost, like, they're like, hey, this is, and I love it's first name basis. Like, this is Dayne at Frost. How can I help you? And it's just really, I don't know, it's just very cool.
Gives you the feels.
Yeah, it does.
No, I love that.
It's very cool. And I think that, like, I know that people stay at Frost for
yes.
There's not a lot of turnover.
Which is another reason why I took the call.
Okay.
I talked to one of my peers that I really, really look up to. And I said, hey, Frost is calling and you know what's going on here.
Yeah.
And I, just told him, he goes, Frost is calling you? I mean, his eyes literally got big. He was like, you take that call and if they offer you the job, you go.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a lot of people that are the same age as me that are in the same role as me right now. But they've been with Frost since they were 18. They came in as tellers, after they graduated high school, or some of them came in as analysts after they, went to UT, A&M.
Sure.
Lots of A&M people.
Really?
Lots of A&M, lots of UT at Frost. But yeah, they either came in right after high school or they came in right after college. And so there's a huge number of people that are there that are now my peers. A lot of them have become friends, and they've been at the bank 15, 16 years longer than I have.
Right.
And that just goes to show that, one, that they feel taken care of. They're able to, be able to take care of their clients because of that. An angry banker is not going to take care of an angry client.
Right.
It takes, a culture of, caring, essentially.
Yeah.
And so it speaks for itself. I won't go too much into that.
No,
but it's definitely noticeable, and it's something that I'm excited now to be a part of, right?
Cool.
If you're ever out and about at a Frost event, they're everywhere right now.
Yeah.
You can literally, I joke around, I say, you want to go to a party at Club Frost tonight? Because there's literally events going on every night for our expansion to some degree. But you'll see people that are dressed formally. They'll have pins on, and your pin shows your seniority or like how long you've been with the bank.
Okay.
And so me, I'm a little baby Frosty. So I have a pin, but it doesn't have a jewel in it.
Oh, got
and
you.
So
you
the
gotta earn
jewels,
that.
the jewels that pin on will tell you how long someone's been with the bank.
Cool.
And so I'm like waiting for my diamond, which means I gotta get to my 20 years and be part of the 20-year club.
I love that.
So
I think that that's really cool. And just, again, from an HR standpoint, to hear people say, I can't wait to be at a company for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not how it works anymore. People,
no, not at all.
People jump, and that's fine. You jump for a better opportunity. You jump for a change. You jump for culture.
Yeah.
And to hear, 20 years, and I think we're about the same age. Like, I'm in my mid-30s, and it's still time to find your spot,
Yeah, no, and I think that was one of the scariest things for me with leaving, the big bank, is that I came in when I was 29, 30, and I built a brand for myself.
Right.
I was co-chaired like the DE&I. I was traveling to Manhattan to go to these conferences. I was really building something, but there was just something that wasn't clicking. And when you wake up for work and no matter how exhausted you are, you're excited to go to work, that says something. And that's how I feel right now. Trust me, I am very exhausted. I think every time I talk to you, I'm like, oh yeah, I went to an event 5 days last week on top of working, on top of helping my clients. And I'm still happy. I'm tired.
You're going to be
happy.
Tired in any job, right? Like, you're going to be tired.
Anyone that's, working where you're trying to help people, you're going to be a little tired.
Yeah.
Because you want to give.
Yep.
And for me, sometimes I don't know when to say no.
Yeah, same. And I think that that's where again, HR, like we were talking about this the other day, and our team, it's like, it's so important. And I think that you guys probably experience the same, because people go in to talk about money, and which is stressful and it's vulnerable, and it's like, sometimes it's not. But for us, no one calls HR to be like, hey, I'm having the best day. I love my job. Like, that doesn't happen.
Maybe I should do that on Monday or
if
Tuesday.
You want to, you 1,000% should. It would make whatever HR rep you get to, they would be like, whoa, are you like pranking me right now? Like, seriously, everyone should call their HR rep and just be like, hey, you know what? I really like my job. Everything's going good. I just want to say, I hope you have a good day.
Thanks for all the work you're doing on open enrollment.
Yeah. Thanks for all the work you've done on open enrollment. Thanks for
coming up soon. Reminder.
Yeah. Hey, don't make them chase you. But no, really, a lot of what we get all day is people call human resources with problems.
Yep.
And I mean, sometimes they're small, but by the time it gets to us, we're an outsourced HR company. So by the time it gets to us, it's usually really not good. And it's like, it's hard to not take some of that on, that energy on, right? Like, and so I was talking to someone recently, and it was like, maybe it was my therapist, to be honest with you. She was like, every time you have one of these conversations, is maybe you've learned not to take the whole boulder that they're giving you, but you're taking like a pebble, and then the next call comes in and you're taking another pebble, and eventually maybe you don't hold one big boulder, but you're holding like so many pebbles. And I think that working with people, no matter what you're doing, like, it's exhausting, because we're taking energy from people, we're holding it, and it makes you really tired, exhausted sometimes, burnout's real. But like, for you to be waking up every day excited, knowing that like you're going to have a bunch of pebbles that you're going to now hold on to, that like, I think that that's beautiful. And, knowing people that work at Frost and people that work elsewhere, like, that's usually not the case, right? Like, that you're like excited to go to work, but the people that work at Frost seem really happy. They don't seem like they're worried about work on Monday. It's like, everybody's cool.
The Sunday scaries are more so like, here goes another week. I know I'm going to need to get as much sleep as I can, because I'm not going to get any during the week. That's about the brunt of it, honestly.
Which is great. Because like, even if you were with anywhere else, like, you're going to be tired, especially like people like us who find ourselves in jobs where we are helping and we're giving and we're servant leaders, and, we're really trying to make a difference in people's lives for the better, that like, you're going to be tired. You might as well really believe in the company that you're like tired for, which
absolutely, it makes all the difference, right?
Yeah. And to feel the support from your leadership, and to feel support from like just the culture and the brand of the bank as a whole, it's beautiful.
I mean, I'm still smiling about it. It's almost unreal to me that I feel so strongly about it, because I'm a pretty cautious person. I don't trust necessarily too quickly. I like to kind of sit back and observe, and I think that's probably why I was waiting for the other shoe to drop after I started. And some things are as presented, they are as they are in the moment, and you just have to trust that that's it.
So tell us about Frost Bank in Easton Park. When does it open? What's going to be
goodness.
cool?
I am so excited. I've been out here so much. I'm just driving by like every other day, and I'm like, oh, nothing's changed. Like, they're waiting on an inspection for plumbing or whatever it is.
Right.
But it's been so exciting to see. I mean, being a resident out here, I know how much and how excited that Facebook page can get about the commercial things that are coming here. And while I'm sure a lot of people didn't expect a bank to be one of them, because I don't think we were originally on that list of businesses that was supposed to come in, how exciting is it for me to like just be one of the first businesses outside of CVS to come into Easton Park. I can't put it into words sometimes. I don't know why I get so excited. I think it's because of how much I love this neighborhood. And it just brought me back to the people. It brought me back to the groups, the hangs, back to this side of town, essentially. And so it will be open on November 12th. That's the official date they're giving me.
Okay.
It seems that sometimes these things open up a little early.
Okay.
And so that could be a week and a half or so early. But the official date is November 12th, so I'll stick with that.
Okay, yeah,
so
let's stick with that.
We'll stick with that. It's the day after Veterans Day. And so, just encourage everybody to come by, hang out, ask questions. I mean, everyone that'll be working there, you can have a conversation just as relaxed as Nicole and I are having right now. People stop by and have cookies and coffee and just sit around and talk, get to know us.
Are y'all doing like an opening event or anything that we should be aware of?
So we're not going to do an opening event immediately, and I think it has a lot to deal with the time of year we're opening.
Sure.
And so we'll be doing a grand opening in February 20th.
Cool.
We'll be passing out flyers. There'll be mailers sent out. You'll see social media. I believe Paul will have some stuff sent out in the newsletter.
Paul's the best.
Paul's amazing. So you'll hear about everything that's going on. And if you're curious, then, you can ask Nicole. I'm sure I'll keep her in the loop. You can ask me. I'll be around. I've literally been out here every day this week. So it's already starting to ramp up as far as, people wanting to, just very much like you guys, wanting to know what's going to be different, what's changed, if you've had a past relationship or why they should come here to the branch that's going to be here in Easton Park. But yeah, I'm very excited for it. I have a team of people. There are a couple of bankers that live here in Easton Park that'll be here. So you'll see more familiar faces as well. Cool. And hopefully all the faces will be familiar faces because you'll see us around so often.
Yeah, I love it. That's amazing. And so we can come in and see you on November 12th.
November 12th, I will be there, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Okay.
Yeah, so we open at 9 o'clock, I believe, that morning.
Yeah, awesome. And I think, too, for people who don't know Frost, like because maybe they've just moved from California or New York or anywhere, wherever they're, wherever people are moving to Easton Park from, which we talked about earlier is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like Frost is the best bank. I can like firmly and confidently say that like personal and business, it really is like, if you haven't, like, check out Frost because it's worth it. It's a very personal relationship.
I mean, I would highly encourage you if you don't want to feel embarrassed or something, come in to talk to me. We opened up a branch right here on Stasny. You got to pass it almost to get on to William Cannon most times anyway. That's where I've been officing out of between there and East 7th for the last 6-7 months. Again, that's where Jaime's at right now.
Yeah.
He's splitting time there in
cool.
East 7th. Go in and just ask questions. I mean, it could be whatever about anything, talk about mortgage, talk about investments, talk about credit. I mean, any of those things, we have an open ear and we'll advise you the best we can. If we don't know something, we're not going to BS you around. We'll get you to somebody who does know something.
Great.
And I think, like you said, Frost has been around forever. I think the amount of knowledge that is not only within the bank, but that's right here local.
Right.
If they're not sitting downtown, if they're not sitting here in Easton Park, they're sitting downtown.
Right.
And so, what's a 20-minute drive like to schedule an appointment and come down and have a conversation? And we do that all the time. Or, take you out to lunch, if it warrants. Me personally, I love a lunch or a happy hour.
I love a happy hour.
Happy hour or, coffee in the morning, any of those. We like to keep it casual, but we're extremely professional as well. And again, I just think the amount of knowledge that we have just in this market alone here in Austin is unmatched.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that, the Frost Tower downtown it's kind of iconic to Austin, especially for us that have been here for a really long time. It's gotten a little swallowed up in the high rise, world that is our downtown environment now. But yeah, again, I can't, if you don't know Frost, it's not like a small town county bank,
No.
It's not as much as like, even though it feels like that, like when you walk in and it is so personal, it's not. It's again, just through experience. It's a great bank. It's a strong bank. It's obviously a very stable bank.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of the businesses that we work with, bank at Frost, and it's interesting because there's a group that we work with. It's a commercial real estate group, and the CFO is one of the most incredibly intelligent, savvy men I've ever had the opportunity to work with. I've learned a lot from him, and he's like, we will always bank with Frost, and they're a large business here in Austin, but they've worked with the same banker forever for the branch on William Cannon over by there's a Whole Foods over there and the Costco and all, and the main reason that they've stayed with Frost so long is because they treat their employees so very well. And that's the other part of Frost that you don't really you don't think about, is that if you as a business go and bank with Frost and you have your employees who are getting paid by your bank and they also happen to work with Frost. I know that when I worked for this company, there would be a Frost rep that would come and talk to us in the like conference room and say, hey, if you don't bank, you get paid faster if you bank with Frost because your
Frost
company
at work.
Frost
at work. Yeah.
It's like it's a whole thing, and I think that business owners, if you don't know that, like, you wouldn't know, that those are options.
Yeah, and I think that we do a really good job of anytime that we're having conversations, like, we're very clear that, hey, we're going to introduce you to other lines of business within the bank, not because we're trying to push something on you, but just so you know that it's something that's offered here. Because I don't know how many times, just in my career in general, where you have someone that you're really close with client-wise. I mean, you guys shoot the shit. You know their kids' names. You know what their favorite drink is when you guys get to a happy hour.
Right.
And they're like, oh, by the way, I just went and did this at such a so-and-so. And you're like, why didn't you give me a call? And they're like, oh, I didn't know you guys did that. And like, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And then, where's the missed opportunity? Is it on the banker? Is it on the business owner? And I always would say it's on the banker, because you should be letting everyone know that you're their trusted advisor. If you're thinking about doing something, if a big purchase is coming up, if something happened with your credit and you're worried about how it's going to affect, your everything, then why wouldn't you be able to, know that you can go to them, and if something that we can't do, we can probably point you in the direction of somebody that we trust does business like we do.
Yeah.
In your direction. So
yeah. And I think too that, like, as a business owner, like, owning and running a business is really hard. It's especially a small business. I mean, if you have less than 250 employees, a lot of the times the owner of that business is wearing many, many hats. You're also trying to provide this, like, servant leadership for your employees, and you're kind of like customer service to your employees.
You're everything.
And then you're everything. And then you have to do the services, which is what you got into business to do. And when you can have one central hub of, like, especially, like, the money is the most important. We're all working because we're not, you got to make money to live. And we all started business because we're passionate about what we like doing, and we want to make money so we can pay our people, stay in business.
I mean, I'm working so I can make money, but also to help you.
And there's
we've got to live, right?
You have to live, and you have to live, the way that you want. But if at Frost you can get your business banking done, you can provide health benefits for your employees, maybe life insurance. I don't know if you guys do PNC or not, but, like,
we do it all.
But one-stop shop with a group that you trust, that you know how they do business. You have one central person that you go to. It's just so much easier than, like, piecemealing things together constantly, because it's hard to keep up with. And, like, it's trust. It's how you do business, and it's great.
I mean, I tell business owners all the time, specifically business owners, you do wear so many hats and so many things that you have to do, and things that come up that you have to combat every single day. Like, let me handle this. Say, hey, my employees, they're not getting paid because their bank's holding up. Cool. Set up a meeting. Let me bring some people in and we'll talk to them. Yeah. And then give them the option, hey, right now, I think, or at least in the last 2 years, a lot of the issues that business owners that were having was finding quality people. Yep. And then once they found them, how do you keep them? How do you retain them? Right. And so, I think we do a great job of it. You were mentioning Frost at Work. That's one of the ways, we bring someone to your employees and say, hey, you'll get paid sooner. When you get your direct deposit, you'll also get the same level of service that your boss is getting through their business and, and their relationship. It doesn't cost anything to them. Right now, mortgages, the housing market. We're working with someone right now where they're actually offering our Progress mortgage as a benefit to their employees, because it's, no money down. We're 100% financing with no PMI. Yeah, no PMI. And we give you a $4,000 grant towards closing costs.
That's huge.
It's huge.
And
right?
for like a first-time home buyer,
First-time home buyers, we've seen the program for people getting straight out of college or parents helping their kids do it when they go to college so that they own something, they're living, it can be used any way, but it's such a huge thing, especially, when we're dealing with affordable housing in Central Texas and then, the rising costs, the interest rates, all that. And I mean, the interest rate is, I don't know if I'm allowed to quote it, so I won't.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But it's extremely low and it's a 30-year fixed rate.
Awesome.
And I haven't seen anyone in the market that can compete with us on that. I've seen a lot of programs similar to it, but it is what it is. CBS, CNBC money.
Okay.
There we go. I had to think about it. Sorry about that. We were just voted the #1 mortgage company because of that program.
That's awesome. And to offer that because you're right, it's finding good people is hard.
Yeah.
Keeping good people is more difficult. You're a testament to you and Frost. Frost went and they're like, sorry, Chase, we're taking Dayne, and it's like the retention, and we do this with our clients. Retention strategy is everything. And when you have good talent and you've invested in good talent, you have to keep them.
Yeah.
And a mortgage benefit, come on.
Yeah.
Like, who's doing that?
So I was thinking about it. We have a lot of schools in the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of teachers. And I just think about how things all tie in together.
Yep.
Easton Park is one of those newer neighborhoods where it's pretty young. And so you have a lot of young elementary students here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would, as someone who lived here and still am around a lot, I know that all these parents, they want their children to have a quality education, right?
Of course.
Okay, so how do you get a quality education? We have good teachers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Teachers' salaries aren't the highest in the world,
Right.
right? So how do you keep teachers, the good ones that care about the students, that are following up with them and that are themselves trained well?
Right.
And so you have to find creative ways to do it. And it's just one of the strategies that we've partnered with the schools on as well.
Smart.
How can, same thing, their business, schools are, school
Yeah.
districts are.
Of course.
How do they maintain talent?
Right.
And that's one of the ways.
In one of the most important industries that there is, right?
Yeah.
And
The future of tomorrow, literally.
yeah. And truly, like, this is gonna sound really cheesy, but I don't mean for it to be, is that those kids, if teachers or parents, their children have to go to school, and a lot of the times they go to the same school that they teach at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And understanding what those salaries are and the limitations that puts on a professional with a child, you're not only building the future of tomorrow by this mortgage opportunity, is you're creating future Frost customers.
Absolutely.
It's so smart.
Absolutely. 100%.
A kid that his mom, maybe single mom teacher with a child, they get to move out of an apartment into a home because Frost Bank helped them do that.
I just got like chills when you said that.
Well, you think,
no, seriously
it's
though.
creating stability, and it's creating, and I kind of back to your title of like community leader of like, Frost is so smart, is like, invest in the community. Invest in the children, that they will grow up and be loyal customers to
Absolutely.
you all.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I think it's really exciting.
I'm excited still.
So you lived in Easton Park. You built a home.
Yes.
Who's your builder?
So I think we started with Perry.
Okay.
I don't know. I think Ossoff was there and he was just kind of hard selling me. But I continued to walk down the little builder's row, and Taylor Morrison just spoke to me. Their model did anyway.
Yeah.
And so ended up building with Taylor Morrison. I didn't get the model the same as the model. It was a different floor plan. I think it was the pewter.
Yeah, it was a beautiful home. So beautiful.
Yeah, I love that home.
Yeah.
It's like open and airy,
Yeah.
and just like tons of space, and got to host parties and family and friends, and just what an experience to say like, hello, welcome to my first home.
Yeah.
And then people walk in and they're like,
yeah, it's funny that you bring that up, because we talked about we're the same age. We're 87 babies, and like
87.
It's the best year to be born.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Today's the day. The big 37 from
we're 37.
87.
Let's
Woo!
go.
But it is, it's funny because this is our first home, and it's like, I feel like millennials, like we elder millennials, kind of skipped the starter home.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was like, I don't know what happened, and I hope we get no like blowback from this, because a lot of millennials, when they're like, we can't afford a home, and we can't, it's a different, I think, being the elder side of the millennial thing, we had some I don't know, maybe we're just driven, maybe we're just in a different.
Well, I think that it was a unique time. I mean, you bought here in the neighborhood before I did, and I just think that this neighborhood, they expected it to be something really grand, and it's fulfilled that prophecy and more, right?
Sure.
But knowing you and knowing other people that live in some of the other earlier neighborhoods, I mean, you got in at a really good price point with some really high quality builders. I mean, none of the builders that I don't think anyway, personally, that Easton Park or that Brookfield has brought in for Easton Park are, I don't want to throw any bad names out there or shade anybody, but they're top tier. And so I think we were just allotted the opportunity. We chose the neighborhood. We were sold on the neighborhood, on what it was going to become. And because of that, we were able to get something that was really grand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was a really wild time. And like, we talk about it. I don't know that we could afford to live in Easton Park building a new house as it is now without.
Don't tell me that if you want me to come back.
Come back. Well, you can. I mean, you're a banker. You're probably rolling in it.
No.
Come on, Frost. Hey, you should use the.
That's a shameless plug for you to tell my boss to give me more money.
Yeah, I mean, Dayne's the best, and Frost has you have your mortgage benefit. I'm sure. So I mean, it's different, but it's a completely different market now. When we bought the house, and I don't mean like bought it like it was built and we closed. Like when we came into it, was it 2016 when we started the process? Which was just a different time. It was a really different time, and but kind of back to it, like it seems like the elder millennial generation skipped the starter home.
Yeah.
And it's just, I've always found it fascinating because at least when I was brought up, it was like, okay, you get out of school, you get a job, you go out from your apartment or your rental house and you buy your little garden 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, and with your little yard, and then you sell that and you take the equity and you go and you move up, and it's just interesting that like
kind of skipped
it.
Do you think it's because of where we're at? Because I feel like I've had kind of both sides of it, right? Because if I were to go back into Indiana right now, I've seen that transition with a lot of the people that I grew up with that, had the little tiny home, and they're up to their nice big, 4 or 5-bedroom home now. But everything's bigger in Texas. I had family that lived here in Central Texas. I used to come down here in the summers to hang out with my cousins. They would send us down for the summer when school was out, and, they would always say, go to school in Texas. You can get a beautiful big house and, for, pretty a reasonable price. And so I think it just has to do with, one, the kind of, just the state and the culture of the state.
Yeah, maybe.
Or at least for me, because I'm an outsider coming in.
I don't know. It's like my cousin Dylan, who he's 88. He's a little younger than me, but essentially the same age.
A little younger. He's literally 1 year younger.
Yeah, and not even. He's actually almost exactly 6 months younger than me. He's in April, so pretty much the same age.
Yeah.
He's also an elder millennial, and like he and his wife also like skipped the starter home. Like, moved into a big house. It's a little older. We waited, but it's just, I don't know. It's like an interesting thing, and it seems like a lot of people in Easton Park are around our age, and it seems like a lot of people like were first time home buyers in Easton Park.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting, I don't know, it's just interesting.
I remember asking like some of these questions to Martha when we were going through, the design process and picking which model and, the finance part of everything. And I was like, how many people have kids? What is the age? And, like legally they're not supposed to say anything. And I'm just like, but I want to know. But you could very clearly see once you got here, what demographic was here.
Yeah.
And, it was exciting. And to your point, like a lot of us were all, first time homeowners.
Yeah. It's just really cool. And I think that the people that found Easton Park which there's a lot of options around here, right? Of the same, like, I don't want to say caliber, but like of the same, like socioeconomic group of people. Like I would consider Goodnight Ranch as like a similar, probably.
I feel like I don't know anybody in Goodnight
I don't
Ranch.
either. But I think that if you were, I don't at all. And actually, that's not true. We golfed at in a tournament with one girl, but we didn't really connect. But I think that here's where I find things different. And I've not spent any time in Goodnight Ranch, but everything in Goodnight Ranch looks the same. There's very few variations of homes. And I don't know what the demographic of the residents there are, but what I think is very cool about Easton Park is like there's so many builders, there's so many phases, and with that we have so much diversity in the neighborhood, which I love.
Yep. And I would even say that within those phases of the neighborhood, they switch out some of the builders so that it creates a different vibe or you know, sense of community within that particular phase, whatever it is.
It's so smart. It's so smart. Like we're in Nob Hill, and I feel like Nob Hill looks so different than Bryant Park, which both look so different from Skyline, from Discovery, from Kiki, from all of them. And I think the intentionality that Brookfield brought to Easton Park has been just really like inspiring to watch it build out, and it's just so cool. It's so cool.
What's the new one called where they have the townhouses? I keep forgetting it. That's the one I keep looking at.
It's not Prospect, right? That's a different one.
Is it? It's almost like its own circular neighborhood.
Yeah,
where I'm not sure what it's called. I feel like every time I look at it, I'm like, yes, and then I forget it.
Yeah, it's strange. I don't know. And then there's one if you're coming in on McKinney Falls, and CVS would be on your right. Like to me, my directional knowledge is like up or down. Like if you're coming up, McKinney Falls, like CVS is on your right, Easton Park is on your right.
Yeah.
Like there's that new area that is just like, is that the area that you're talking about? Or are you talking if you're going towards like?
I'm thinking it's more tucked away back closer to 183.
Yeah, like William Cannon down to 183. Those are cool. They're going to be cool. They look gigantic.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But I think it's because they're together. Like they're like condos that are together.
Right. They're almost, they're town, well, I'm calling them townhouses.
Yeah, because they're connected.
Yeah.
Kind of like
a row home almost.
Yeah.
But the way they're building it, it's like a circular, so.
I'll do a drive back there because I haven't noticed like the circular situation.
Well, I was looking at it.
Cool.
I think they posted something and I was like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
'Cause then you have like the living area, like the communal front yard, essentially.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's going to be really stinking cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Where is that? 'Cause I got this pulled up.
Yeah, no, I think Easton Park is really cool, and I think that the community is awesome. I love that Frost is going to go into, and it's going to be the community bank. Like it will be, you know.
I mean, I sure hope so. I know that we've invested a lot of time like researching and trying to figure out, you know, exactly where we wanted to go as part of this expansion. And even me living here didn't realize, you know, how much of a desert it is out here.
Yeah.
Like we know like, yeah, there's not a lot of places that there wasn't, you know, we have Meanwhile now.
Right.
And there's some things that are coming slowly, you know, backyard over off of 183.
Yeah.
But, you know, as I was in some of these meetings, which, whoa, who let me in these planning meetings?
Yeah.
You know, we were talking and it was like, you know, I know the demographic of people that are here. A lot of people work from home.
Mm-hmm.
You don't leave here unless you have to.
Right.
When you leave, you don't want to have to go anywhere else outside,
Yep.
you know, and then with all the construction and traffic on top of that, I mean,
It's a lot.
it's a lot. And so just thinking about that, I was like, well, let me do my own little research. You know, the closest bank to Easton Park is north is Wells Fargo on Ben White.
Mm-hmm.
West, now we have one on Stasny, but before we opened the one on Stasny, it was
Mhm.
Bank of America by HEB.
Right.
And before that opened, which it's only been open, a year and a half, was Chase on Slaughter.
Yep.
And then south, you have to go to Buda.
Mm-hmm.
And west, you'd have to go all the way to Del Valley to get to a bank.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a bank desert. It's
Yeah.
a food desert. It's all things desert. But, you know, as I drive down 183, as I'm sure a lot of people have,
Mm-hmm.
things are coming.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, a lot of the additional property that Brookfield purchased
Yeah.
will also become some commercial
It has
as
to.
well. It'll
has
have to. Goodnight Ranch, they've already started their commercial development.
Right.
You know, it's slow moving, but hey, progress is progress.
Yeah.
We'll take what we can get, right?
It's gonna go slow, and were you here before CVS?
Yeah.
That was a wild time. Like,
Yeah.
and
I used to go hang out at CVS because I didn't want to go to HEB.
yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
go pay significantly more for what you would at CVS, but like it's right there.
Yeah.
And like it's when we first moved in, there was no Uber delivery. Like there's no Uber Eats. There was
There was
no
none
like
of that either.
we
I didn't
used
have any
to-
of that.
Yeah, it was a different time. Like Craigos, if you like begged, they
I
would
never got
deliver a
Craigos.
couple of times, but we had to pay more, and like it was the whole thing.
The only people that I could get to deliver food for probably the first year and a half. So,
Mhm.
2018, 19, 20,
Mhm.
was Papa John's over there off
Yeah.
of
Thaxton.
Thaxton. Yeah, that was the only thing that you
Right.
could order. Otherwise, you'd have to make the trek.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that's when Papa John's starts to look real good.
Papa John's was amazing for a good year and a
Yeah.
half.
You have a few drinks, and you're like, I'm not driving anywhere.
Yep.
And then Papa John's suddenly, they're so good. So
it was
good.
the best thing I'd ever tasted at that time.
And before CVS, Star Mart, which is the same that Papa John's is
Little gas
connected
station.
to, that great produce, like it was a great meat market. Like it became wild how quickly things got okay.
So I think that what year was it that we had the first freeze, the real bad one?
Oh,
Was it 21?
it was it was February of 21, right?
Okay. So I didn't even realize that there was the grocery store over off of 973, or is it 812?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh my goodness.
There's a
What?
grocery store?
There's a grocery store on the other side of 183, like if you're going towards the Circuit of Americas, but it's
Oh,
closer here.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
I went in there one time and I was like, this
Okay,
is
sorry. It's on Burleson.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It's like a and it's like
It's a supermercado.
yes. Yes. Okay. That's what we call them.
Yeah.
And they like it was great.
It was great. It was popping. I got some okay wine because that's how you bartered during those times.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
It was like the Oregon Trails at Easton Park
It
during those
was.
times. But they actually have everything,
Yeah, and like produce like crazy.
like good produce.
yeah, and then like also like cactus and
I'd like going to their meat market. They had all the it was almost he was a butcher, and I mean you could ask for anything
yeah.
pre-seasoned too.
You know what? I'm gonna start shopping there again. Like I went there one time and I think it was like I don't know why. I must have been coming back from Houston or something. I'm trying to remember. No, I was coming back from Katy, and I remember I had to stop and get because it's also there's a little gas station near that, right? And then you go back to the.
Yep.
That's such a vibe.
I went there very often after the
Okay.
freeze.
Yeah, that's amazing. We should.
It was so I mean, you got to think the big HEB wasn't open then.
That's right.
We just had the one over here on William Cannon,
Which is
and so
risky.
like it was risky, and then also they didn't have anything. So I mean, I think the first time I tried during that storm, I went to the HEB on Slaughter and Manchek.
Oh.
And if I didn't go to that one, the next closest one at the time would have been Brody.
Which, like, again, risky because, like, it was frozen and none of us... Well, you being from Indiana probably know how to do the snow.
Well, here goes the thing. William Cannon is
Right.
very hilly
That's
when
what I
there's
meant, like,
ice.
risky
Yeah.
because, like... And it's, like, thin. Like,
Yeah.
It's...
I mean, I
yeah.
drove it. It was scary and I saw lots of cars. But, yeah.
That's wild. The freeze. I feel like since... It's just been a wild ride here since, like... I mean, even since before 2020, but, like... Well, maybe not. Since 2020, like, COVID was obviously crazy. And then the freeze was bananas.
Yeah. And then we got the snow the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then it was like... Steve used to talk about how people from up north would be like, it's not that bad, whatever. And he's like, look, it rained and then froze and then it snowed and then it like melted and then it froze and then it snowed again.
Yeah.
Like no one's prepared for that.
Well, I mean, not to go dark, but I definitely remember like people being injured by like icicles and ice storms growing up. So I wouldn't say that it wasn't anything. I mean, if you're thinking about it on a grand scale, no, it wasn't a lot of snow. But if that happens to somewhere where
If
it
you're not
doesn't
ready.
snow,
Yeah.
where the roads are built because they don't see snow,
Right.
it's different. You don't find a lot of that. That's why the Midwest is so flat.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's just so crazy. Like, I don't know. That was wild. That was really wild. We were very lucky in Easton Park. We all had like power and
We did. Is
He-
it because we were like on the same grid as the airport?
oh, maybe.
That's what I was told. I don't know. It might,
That
could
sounds
just be something they said.
sounds right
but-
to me.
I mean, that's what I've been telling people for the last 4 years.
Maybe. I mean, hospital, airport, like that stuff.
We have a lot of major things on the grid over here. I think that's why
Yeah.
we didn't lose power. But
Yeah.
either way, happy it didn't happen.
Same.
We had some refugee friends from all over Austin. Everyone, I'm
Came
sure.
to y'all's house.
Yeah.
We
so-
had Steve was like in his office and there was a little draft from his window and like he had buddies that he was working with at the time that had just had a child, like a baby, and Steve's like, they're like, yeah, they were doing the rolling blackouts or whatever, so
Yep.
like it was like, he's like, yeah, we just had the new baby, we're home, like the power's gonna go off for 2 hours, we hope it comes back on, because like remember power was going off and then like they weren't able to like bring
Yeah.
it back on. Steve sent a picture of himself and a picture like in his office in our heated home with electricity with a space heater, because he was like, there's a slight draft coming in from the window, and they're like, cool, Steve, cool, we can't even get to
Sounds
you
like
guys.
something I would do, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, so thank you everyone for joining us for this edition of Easton Park Talk. Dayne, awesome to see you. Awesome to hang out with
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Yeah.
so excited to be back in Easton Park.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to get to hang out with you and, just chop it up. It's great.
Yeah.
So hopefully, everyone knows who I am now. If you didn't already, come talk to me.
Yeah.
Hang out.
We'll
Love
see
to
you.
see you.
Yeah, we'll see you at Frost on November 12th.
November 12th, 9 a.m. I'll be there.